You might not realize it, but the very foods you trust, the ones you've eaten for decades, could be the silent reason your prostate is swelling, your sleep is broken, and your confidence is fading. I'm talking about everyday items in your kitchen, foods that seem harmless, but are slowly making things worse. And no one warned you, until now. I'm Dr. Rena, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping men over 60 reclaim their energy, their freedom, and yes, their manhood. I've sat across from thousands of men who felt frustrated, embarrassed, and even hopeless. But I've also watched those same men transform their health, naturally, when they finally learned what to avoid and what to embrace. Here's what may surprise you. Many foods labeled as healthy are actually triggering inflammation, hormone imbalance, and the exact urinary issues you're trying to get rid of. And unless you understand what's behind this, even the best supplements won't fix it. So in this video, I'll walk you through the 5 specific foods that are silently harming your prostate, and why cutting them could be the most important change you make for your health, your sleep, and your intimacy. This isn't theory. These are the exact changes I've seen work for real men, time and again. And if you stay with me through the end, I'll share one simple morning habit, something you can do tomorrow, that helps naturally shrink the prostate without pills or surgery. Before we dive in, if you care about your prostate health and want more honest, practical advice made specifically for men over 60, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell. That way, you'll never miss another tip that could change your health and your life. And if you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and let me know how I can better support you. All right, let's get into it, starting with the very first food you need to cut out immediately if you want to shrink your prostate and take back control. It's one that's often marketed as healthy, especially for your heart. But for older men, it can quietly throw your hormones out of balance and make prostate symptoms worse. I'm talking about soy. 1. Soy products. I still remember a patient of mine, let's call him David. He was 67, retired, and doing his best to eat healthy. Morning walks, green smoothies, and a fridge stocked with so-called heart-healthy foods. One of his favorites? Soy milk. He'd replaced dairy with it years ago, thinking it was the smart move. But when he came to me, he was exhausted. Up 4, sometimes 5 times a night to urinate. He said he felt like a prisoner in his own body, sleep-deprived, disconnected from his wife, and frustrated that nothing seemed to work. Now here's what most men don't realize. Soy isn't always your friend, especially not after 60. Soy is packed with compounds called phytoestrogens. These plant-based estrogens act like female hormones inside your body, and for older men whose testosterone is already on the decline, that extra estrogen-like activity can quietly disrupt your hormonal balance. The result? Your testosterone drops even further. Estrogen takes the lead, and your prostate, the gland that depends on a healthy balance, starts to swell under the pressure. This doesn't happen overnight, it creeps in. You start peeing more often. Your flow weakens, you stop sleeping through the night. You may even feel changes in your desire or performance in the bedroom. And all the while, you think you're doing something healthy, when in reality, you're feeding the very problem you're trying to fix. Soy is everywhere these days. Soy milk, tofu, soy protein powders, energy bars, meat substitutes, even in packaged snacks as soy lecithin. It's hard to avoid if you're not paying attention, but here's the truth. For many older men, cutting out soy is one of the quickest ways to reduce hormonal confusion, calm prostate inflammation, and start sleeping better again. David took my advice. He removed soy from his diet completely. Within 3 weeks, he noticed fewer nighttime trips to the bathroom. Within 2 months, he said he felt like himself again, more rested, more in control, and more connected to his wife. Sometimes healing doesn't come from adding more, but from removing what's quietly working against you. Now, if soy surprised you, you're not alone, but wait until you hear about the second food on this list. It's one most of us grew up with, trusted without question, and even gave to our children thinking it was pure and nourishing. But for your prostate, it might be doing the exact opposite. Let's take a closer look. 2. Conventional dairy. Let me tell you a story about Frank, a 72-year-old former engineer who came to see me a few years ago. A proud father of 3, a loyal husband, and someone who took pride in doing things the right way. He exercised, he stayed active, and like many of us, he believed in the basics. Wholesome meals, plenty of water, and a glass of milk every day. Whole milk, straight from the fridge, just like he'd done since he was a kid. But Frank had a problem. His prostate had been giving him trouble for years. Slow stream, urgency, waking up multiple times a night. And no matter what he tried, it just wasn't getting better. When we looked deeper, I asked him about his diet. I'll never forget the look on his face when I suggested that dairy might be part of the problem. "Milk? You mean the thing I've trusted all my life?" he asked, almost offended. But here's the reality. For men over 60, conventional dairy can quietly contribute to inflammation, especially in the prostate. You see, most dairy products in the US are made from cows that produce what's called A1 casein protein. This form of protein, along with the saturated fat and hormone residues found in conventional milk, can lead to increased mucus production and systemic inflammation. And when your prostate is already sensitive, this kind of irritation makes things worse. The swelling increases, urination becomes more difficult, and your quality of life begins to slowly unravel. It's not just milk either. Cheese, yogurt, cream, they all play a part. Unless the dairy comes from an A2 source, which is much easier on the body, most men find that reducing or removing dairy helps relieve their symptoms. That was the case with Frank. Once he cut out conventional dairy, the changes came fast. Within weeks, the urgency calmed down. His stream was stronger. He even told me he finally slept through the night without getting up for the first time in years. And perhaps most important of all, his energy returned. Not just physical energy, but the kind of emotional energy that made him feel like himself again. It's hard to question something you've trusted for so long, but sometimes, healing asks us to take a second look at the familiar. Now, if milk surprised you, wait until you hear what's next. This next food is sweet, comforting, and often used to celebrate the good moments in life. But for your prostate, it could be quietly causing more harm than you ever imagined. Let's keep going. 3. Refined sugar and sweets. There's something about sugar that tugs at all of us. It's tied to celebration, comfort, and even the quiet moments of reward after a long day. I remember one gentleman, Harold, a retired school principal in his late 60s. Every night, like clockwork, he'd enjoy a little dessert after dinner. Sometimes a slice of pie, sometimes just a spoonful of honey and tea. It was his ritual, his comfort. And yet, he was struggling. Frequent urination, poor sleep, and that heavy, bloated feeling that just wouldn't go away. When we sat down and looked at his daily habits, sugar stood out. And I get it. It's hard to hear that something so small, something that seems harmless, could be sabotaging your health from the inside out. But here's what sugar really does, especially to the aging male body. Sugar triggers inflammation, not just the kind that makes your joints ache, but the deep, internal kind that quietly inflames organs, disrupts hormones, and puts pressure on the prostate. And it doesn't stop there. Excess sugar increases belly fat, which in turn raises estrogen and lowers testosterone, creating the perfect storm for an already enlarged prostate to grow even more irritated and swollen. What's worse, insulin resistance, a direct result of long-term sugar consumption, has been closely linked to prostate issues in older men. Even the so-called natural sweeteners like honey or jaggery, while better in small amounts, can still cause harm when used daily or in excess. 1 teaspoon of raw honey a day might be manageable, but beyond that, you're asking your body to work overtime. And let's not forget how sugar quietly creeps into so many packaged foods: breads, sauces, cereals, even healthy snacks. Most men don't realize how much they're consuming until they start paying attention. Harold didn't want to give it up at first. But when he started reducing sugar, cutting back on desserts, reading labels more carefully, and replacing sweet treats with a handful of berries or a crisp apple, his body thanked him. The nighttime bathroom trips became less frequent, his energy lifted, and he even dropped a few stubborn pounds around the middle, which only added to the relief. Letting go of sugar isn't easy. It's emotional, it's habitual, but it's also one of the most powerful steps you can take to reduce prostate inflammation and restore balance. Now, sugar might be a known enemy, but the next item on our list often hides behind a more innocent image. It's filling, it's familiar, and it's something many men eat daily without giving it a second thought. But for your prostate, it might be quietly working against you. Let's take a closer look. 4. Starchy and mucus-forming foods. Years ago, I had a patient named Paul, an Army veteran in his early 70s, strong-willed, disciplined, and always up before sunrise. But lately, he'd been struggling. His energy was fading, his stomach always felt heavy, and the worst part? His prostate was acting up again, making every night a restless one. When we reviewed his diet, he chuckled and said, "Doc, I eat real food, nothing fancy, just the basics, meat, potatoes, white rice, maybe a banana in the morning." To him, these were the comfort staples, the foods he trusted. But what he didn't realize was that those very staples were slowly working against him. As we age, our digestion slows, our metabolism shifts, and certain foods, especially starchy, mucus-forming ones, start creating more problems than they solve. White rice, mashed potatoes, white bread, even bananas in excess all fall into this category. These foods are dense, heavy, and tend to generate what ancient medicine calls mucus or kapha, a sticky, sluggish state in the body. For the prostate, that translates to pressure, swelling, and increased inflammation. Now, it's not that carbohydrates are evil, but the wrong kinds and in the wrong amounts can weigh your system down. Too much starch slows digestion, creates bloating, and adds to the pressure around the pelvic area, which only worsens urinary symptoms. Many men think a banana a day is harmless, but even that can contribute to mucus and heaviness, especially when it becomes a daily habit. When Paul took my advice and swapped out his regular starchy sides for lighter, more vibrant vegetables, steamed greens, cauliflower rice, roasted carrots, he noticed a difference almost immediately. His digestion improved, the bloated, stuffed feeling vanished, and within weeks, he reported sleeping more soundly and waking up feeling lighter, more alive. One small shift and his whole system responded. We have to understand that food isn't just fuel, it's a signal. Every bite you take either moves you closer to health or pulls you further away from it. And for men over 60, keeping the system light, clean, and moving is key. But the next food we're going to talk about, this one doesn't just slow you down. It clogs, inflames, and pollutes. It's flashy, it's addictive, and it's engineered to keep you hooked. And worst of all, it's doing real damage to your prostate and your overall vitality, one bite at a time. Let's talk about it. 5. Processed and fatty junk foods. One of the most heartbreaking moments I've had in my practice came from a man named Walter. He was 75, widowed, and had spent most of his retirement alone. He told me, "Doc, I don't cook, I just eat what's easy. I heat something up, maybe grab a burger if I'm out. I know it's not great, but it fills me up." What Walter didn't realize was that convenience had come at a steep cost. He'd been dealing with severe prostate enlargement, worsening night after night. His sleep was broken, his energy was gone, and his confidence, especially around intimacy, was a shadow of what it once was. What I had to explain to Walter is what many men overlook. Processed and fatty junk foods don't just hurt your waistline or your heart. They hurt your manhood in a very real, physical way. These foods are loaded with industrial oils, trans fats, sodium, preservatives, and chemical additives that trigger deep inflammation. That inflammation doesn't just affect your joints or digestion. It directly impacts your prostate, your circulation, and even your hormonal balance. When your arteries are clogged with junk, blood doesn't flow the way it should. When your tissues are inflamed, the prostate swells, presses harder on your bladder, and leads to more frequent urination. Your body tries to send you a message, but it often comes out in symptoms we brush off, feeling tired, sluggish, irritable, or simply not yourself. And there's another issue. These processed foods are designed to override your hunger signals. You're not just eating for fuel, you're eating because you've been trained to crave them. Chips, fast food, frozen meals, microwave snacks, they're engineered for addiction. And while they might be quick, they leave a long-lasting mark on your health. Walter made a courageous choice. He started small, cutting back on frozen dinners, swapping chips for nuts, learning to bake simple meals at home. Within 2 months, he lost weight. His prostate symptoms eased. He told me, with a mix of pride and surprise, "I didn't think I could feel this good again." The truth is, you don't need to live in discomfort, but you do need to make different choices. The question most men ask me after hearing all this is, "Okay, doc, so what should I eat instead?" That's where the real transformation begins, because while cutting harmful foods is powerful, knowing what to put on your plate, foods that actively heal and support your prostate, is where lasting health is truly built. Let me show you what that looks like. 6. What to eat instead. Now that we've walked through the foods you need to avoid, let's talk about what to eat instead. Because this part is just as important, and the truth is, you're not giving anything up. You're trading in foods that weigh you down for ones that help you feel alive again. I often tell my patients, your plate is your prescription, and when you fill it with the right ingredients, the body begins to respond. I've seen it happen over and over again. Men who thought they were past their prime begin sleeping through the night, feeling lighter, even reconnecting with their partners in ways they hadn't in years. Start with vegetables, real, colorful, living foods. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts are especially powerful. They're packed with compounds that help regulate hormones, reduce inflammation, and support detoxification in the body. I call them prostate protectors. Then there are tomatoes, especially when cooked. They contain lycopene, a powerful antioxidant shown to reduce prostate size and even lower the risk of prostate cancer. Add olive oil and a bit of garlic, and you've got a simple, healing meal right on your plate. Pumpkin seeds are another gem. Just a handful a day delivers a strong dose of zinc, a mineral that's critical for healthy testosterone levels and prostate function. Pomegranate juice in moderation can boost circulation and support erectile function, something many men overlook until they realize how deeply it's connected to prostate health. Don't forget about herbs and spices. Turmeric, ginger, parsley, basil, these aren't just for flavor. They fight inflammation, support digestion, and help create an environment in the body where healing is possible. And hydration matters. Drink water throughout the day to support detox and keep the urinary tract functioning smoothly. What I want you to know is this: eating well after 60 isn't about restriction. It's about liberation. It's about waking up with energy, moving through your day without discomfort, and ending the night without constant interruptions. It's about giving yourself the chance to feel like a man again, not just in body, but in spirit. You've now learned what to avoid and what to embrace, but there's one more thing I want to share with you. Something simple, something you can do first thing tomorrow morning that jumpstarts healing, boosts circulation, and supports prostate health better than most supplements ever could. Let me show you exactly what that habit looks like. 7. Final words from Dr. Rena. Over the years, I've sat across from countless men who felt frustrated, tired, and deeply discouraged by what was happening to their bodies. Many believed their only options were to either live with the discomfort or rely on pills that came with their own set of side effects. The truth is, your body is still listening, and it can still heal if you give it the right environment to do so. We've covered a lot in this video. We talked about 5 common foods that quietly aggravate prostate issues, soy products that interfere with hormones, conventional dairy that fuels inflammation, refined sugar that disrupts balance, starchy and mucus-forming foods that weigh your system down, and processed junk that clogs your body from the inside out. Each of these plays a role in making your symptoms worse. And the sooner you cut them out, the sooner your body can begin to reset. But more importantly, we talked about what to bring in instead. Foods that nourish, that restore, that protect. Vegetables rich in healing compounds, cooked tomatoes full of lycopene, pumpkin seeds, herbs, and simple hydration. These are not complicated changes, but they are powerful ones. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, start small, stay consistent, and remember that every choice you make is a step toward feeling better. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, even intimately. Your energy, your confidence, your peace of mind, they're not gone. They're waiting for you to reclaim them. I'm Dr. Rena, and I want to thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated with you, share it with someone you care about. And if you're ready to take the next step, start tomorrow morning with intention, because your best years are not behind you. They're still within reach.